Well, here we are in Filey, and we're going to have a look at a little bit of good coastal planting. Some of the best planting I've seen, often it's sparse, but here they've got a really good balance and perfect plants for a coastal situation to cope with the conditions of salt-laden wind, dry, poor nutrients in the sand and all sorts of things like that. So a really nice piece of landscaping. So in this bed you can see you've got the lovely tamarix, and you've also got sambucus and a little euphorbia tucked away down in the left. Moving on to the lovely brachyglottis with its yellow flowers, and then of course Elaeagnus ebingii. And then moving on from Elaeagnus, you've got some spirea in the bottom, some fuchsias of course, and then you've got your phormiums in the background. Just moving on a bit further, you've got that lovely Physocarpus diabolo, and you've also got rosemary, more spirea, and then of course into the lovely Stipa gigantica, more phormium, and then even tucked away by the tamarix is Chordateria, the pampas grass, and then in at the bottom you've got some lovely lavender, lavandula there, and then you've got the phlomis to finish with a little bit of euonymus emerald and gold tucked away underneath it. Fantastic planting, really good scheme here for a coastal situation. Kick off with some Euchra micranthera Pallis purple down to the left, up to tamarix with euphorbia, a nice Stipa gigantea in there, and then in at the base we've got some hebes, some more Euchra, some Caryopteris, and we've got some euonymus emerald and gold. We've got rose of the sea, Rose marinus. You can see at the back you've got your Elaeagnus, and there's a nice phormium cookianum yellow wave just pushing through the Stipa. Then into more phlomis, and then behind the phlomis is again a lovely big tamarix, and there we've got Stachys lanata in at the base. So in this border, another piece of excellent landscaping. We've got the elephant's ears Beginia cordifolia in the foreground. You've got some lovely Thrift Armeria maritima just in the base. You've got some lavandula and Stipa. So good planting here, because if it's got a good waxy cuticle like the Beginia, it will help to resist the salt winds. Armeria maritima, of course, is maritima means of the sea. Really does well here in coastal situations. And then looking on, you've got Rose of the Sea, Rose marinus. Well, that likes dry conditions. Again, it can cope with the salt. You've got a grey foliage plant, which again, the Stachys lanata is able to cope with salt. Gets a bit of mildew, but again, with the hairy leaves, the salt crystallizes on it and falls away. You've got some Euchra kind of limelight type, which is again good dry conditions. A little Juniperus squamata blue star, it looks like, again needle-like leaves able to cope with salt. Tamarix needle-like leaves able to cope with salt. And then you've got Helianthemum, rock roses, again able to cope with those conditions. And then you've got Chordateria, the pampas grass, another good plant. So we've got the Chordateria soloana, the lovely pampas grass looking great at this time of the year. And then into the base you've got some sedum, or Hylotelephium now it's called, changed its name, the Herbstphoid group, brilliant for butterflies. And then of course you've got some Sisyrinchum, some Stipa, and then at the end Elaeagnus and Physocarpus. This border you can see we've got the hebe, which you'd expect for your coastal planting. We've got some lovely pines in there. It's a whole assortment of pines you can use, because again, needle-like leaves, they're able to cope with those conditions. And then dropping down you've got berberis, you've got some fuchsia, stepping up into a Pinus muga, the Monterey pine, and then into a much bigger pine, And then of course euonymus at the base, another good plant for this coastal situation. And tucked away in the middle is a silver one, Santolina, the cotton lavender. Slightly unusual planting underneath the pine tree, but that's the fragrant cotton lavender, Santolina chamaecyparis. This border is a little bit more solid. You've got Prunus autolycan with Cotoneaster, and then of course Escallonia, and the Weigela florida variegata on the end, and a Forsythia just popping up over the top. So it's a little bit more solid. The great coastal plants is hydrangea, and often it goes pink on limey soils and goes blue on slightly acidic soils. Good plant for a coastal situation is the lovely Cistus salvifolia silver pink. Not pink at this time of the year, of course, but it is a great plant, able to cope with those dry conditions. A slight sort of silvery hair again with that, able to cope with ultraviolet light. Plant to have around the coastal situations is fleabane. This is Erigeria caravenscus. Beautiful plant, just ideal popping out of paving, anywhere you've got a little area to fill. Behind you can see you've got this nice little euphorbia, Mercenitis type, nice little architectural old pine in a coastal situation there with sedum and eryngiums, or echinops actually, that one. And then we've got some lavender. A few buddleias and one or two nice grasses there. Beautiful plant in a coastal situation, if you can get away with it, are the palms. This is a Trachycarpus fortunei, named after Robert Fortune, and you can see, although a little bit withered around the edges of the leaves, it's doing okay. Phormium cookianum yellow wave on Captain Cook's Travels, one that's brought back from New Zealand. And of course we've got Cordyline australis and yuccas, are great plants for coastal situations. So I hope this has given you a few ideas to design your coastal gardens.